Good morning, CLC. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of this service. Thank you for all of your love and energy. I invite you now in this moment to just breathe in that love that surrounds you right now. And as you release this breath, release all stress and tension, all anxiety. Just let it go for now. Take another nice, deep, cleansing breath. And as you breathe it out, allow your body to relax in this moment. And allow your mind to be here now. Universal love enfolds me. Universal wisdom inspires me. Universal spirit enlightens me. Universal power encircles me. I am one, and all is well. As we begin this inner healing process, let me invite you to relax in quiet confidence, opening yourself to the miracle-working higher power. Now symbolize the unity of your thinking and feeling nature by touching your chest with your hand, and let my words act as your own, for your own inner healing, acceptance, and receptivity. I acknowledge that there is a power, intelligence, and wisdom greater than my own. I am in the midst of it, and it is in the midst of me, sensitive and responsive to my every thought, word, action, and feeling. I now make this true for myself by saying aloud, I acknowledge. Acknowledging this higher power working through my life, I admit that I am personally responsible for solving my own problems while being guided and assisted by something greater than myself. As I am ready to surrender the conflicts of my ego to the wisdom of this infinite presence, I simply speak these words. I surrender.
I surrender.
Knowing that forgiveness is the key to unconditional love and the feeling of heaven, I now unconditionally forgive anyone and everyone who has ever injured me in any way, real or imagined. And I now forgive myself for all of my mistaken judgments and their resulting actions. From my deepest level of understanding, I now say, I forgive.
I forgive.
Realizing that I continually experience the effects of my own thinking, I now choose to allow this higher power to recreate me deeply, filling my mind with thoughts that are only positive, constructive, loving, and beautiful. I call upon this divine inflow by stating aloud, I choose.
I choose.
I now center upon that one special idea that I'm willing to accept as real for me in this coming week. Visualizing that idea as already acted upon and brought to pass. In seeing my idea become a fact of my experience, I enjoy the happiness and peace of my thought-fulfilled and gratefully speak these words. I accept.
I accept.
Knowing that I have an everlasting place in the midst of the power that sustains all creation, as well as the support of all those around me, I allow myself to relax in the peace of fulfillment and gratitude and say, I release. Now, in my mind's eye, I envision the presence of someone near and dear to me. This can be a friend, a family member, a teacher or a mentor, someone who has touched my life in deep and loving ways. Someone who may not be physically present in the room with me this morning. I turn toward that image in my mind's eye and say, I'm grateful for the good in your life. Now I open my eyes, turn to the world around me, and joyfully speak to anyone physically present in the room or virtually on this broadcast, and share in confidence and gratitude and saying, I'm grateful for the good in your lives.
Can they play basketball in New Jersey or what? You have any idea what I'm talking about? No. March Madness. A couple of major upsets. Princeton and Fairleigh Dickinson. Fairleigh Dickinson is a commuter school in Tenafly, or somebody will know, right across the river from the city. And they were a 16th. They had to play their way into the tournament as a 16th seed, and they beat number 1 Purdue. And they're playing again today. And then Princeton, which is right near them, beat Arizona, who was a number 1 or 2 seed. And everybody's, well, they call it a Cinderella thing. I don't know why. I guess they turned back into a pumpkin at midnight or something. But they call it a. So they beat Arizona, and then 2 days later they played Missouri last night, beat them by 18 points or something. So anyway, I shall speak no more of this. But if the University of Houston goes far in this thing, we will wear red in a couple of Sundays. Okay. So, all right. So what I have for you today is not entirely free association. There is a bit of planning that went into this. We're looking at New Thought women, especially the early generations of New Thought women teachers, women leaders. New Thought. Do you know what New Thought is? Do you know more about New Thought than you know about New Jersey basketball? Yes. Okay. New Thought is a school of thought that arose in the 19th century after millennia of being underground and kind of a side conversation in the 19th century. It came up for air, and it began to be written about, and it began to be organized in a way, and it was chiefly women that were doing this, which was remarkable for the times, both that women were in leadership and acknowledged as such, and that women were in spiritual leadership and acknowledged as such. Because, as you know, if you follow the news, to this very day, there are religious organizations in the Western world that won't allow women into leadership. Okay, to this very day. And here in the 1870s, 1880s, you had women creating spiritual institutions that were open to men and women alike, that were open to all ethnicities of people alike, that taught what you hear in this place every week, and in all of our classes and book studies and so forth. The idea that the divine is within you, and that as you become aware of this, the quality of your life improves, and you find meaning and purpose that maybe wasn't there before, and so on. So, for March and April, at least, and very possibly thereafter, we're going to be delving into the writings and teachings of various women teachers. And the one I have for you today is one of the group that you probably will have heard of. Her name is Emma Curtis Hopkins. No, say it isn't so. And because in previous weeks I've given you some you probably haven't heard of, but we're going to have some Emma today. We're going to emanate. It's me channeling David Dewhurst. We're going to emanate today, and we'll have some more Emma coming up down the road. But I was looking for an idea how I structured this series this time around was looking for what I wanted to say, and then looking for a container for that, and then looking for who had said it first and better, who happened to be a woman teacher. And so what I wanted to get at today was a balance between intellect and emotion as a functional, useful spiritual practice and spiritual guideline. And I thought Emma probably said something about it. Well, she did. She said a lot of things about it. And especially when she said, logic is a fine thing, but you should season your logic with spiritual laws, with spiritual knowledge. Season your logic. So I'm thinking that's seasoning in the very clear cooking sense, very clear chef sense. Season it, stir your logic, season to taste, right? She says logic by itself is dry. Isn't it? It needs a little pummeling, and it needs a little tenderizing. And life will pummel your logic, won't it? Life will tenderize your logic. You set out and you say, I understand all of this. I have this all figured out. And then things go off the rails. And you're, yeah. And so she says, get out in front of this in terms of seasoning your logic with spiritual laws. Okay, that's point number one, if you're counting. I don't know how many points we're going to have today. We'll just go till we're done. How's that? But that's point number one, is to season your logic before you have to. Practice spirituality before you have to. I can't tell you the numbers of people who, well, you know, and we've all been part of those numbers of people, who wait until they've exhausted every other opportunity, every other last thing. I've thrown everything at it but the kitchen sink. Now, maybe, I'll acknowledge the existence of a higher power who actually made this planet and put me on it. Now I'll turn to that higher power and I'll try to develop some sort of relationship with it, or pick up where we left off in the relationship and see how I can take things from there. If you wait till the last minute for things, you're not practiced at them. You're not ready. You're not ready. They watching basketball over the weekend. This guy had been injured in a previous game, and they didn't know if he was going to get into this game, but they put him in because they needed him. This is actually a U of H guy I'm talking about here. And so they put him into the game, and he got 4 fouls on him because it was a real physical game. And they had like 6 minutes left in the game, so they took him out for a while, like they'll do, right? Because you only get 5 fouls. Do you know anything about basketball at all? Any of you? Okay. You get, all right, at the college level, you get 5 fouls, and then, you know, you're disqualified, right? Well, he had 4, and so they're factoring out the time that he's got 6 minutes or so left, and we need this player because he's good and stuff. So they pulled him out of the game. But because he'd been injured lately, They were afraid he was going to seize up in his musculature. And so instead of just putting him in a chair, they put him on a stationary bike behind the bench. This guy, Lisa's an athlete, so she understands it. So instead of getting to rest, he's sitting there doing this, because otherwise he could have tightened up and he could have cramped, and then he would have been completely useless for the last 6 minutes of the game. Well, the point of the thing is, when you're not actually playing, you need to be exercising, or you need to be practicing, or you at least need to be visualizing playing. And this is what they do when they shoot foul shots. They'll have these kids visualize the ball going in the basket, and it actually increases their hit rate. Well, I use this as an example just because it came up for me in sports over the weekend, but the thing is, if you use it or lose it. Now, you never really lose it. It never goes away altogether, but it gets stale on you. And you can't find it. Where did I put that? You're tearing through drawers, Where did I put that thing? Where did I put that key to salvation? Where did I put that key to awareness? Where did I put that key to peace in my life? I have no idea. And so we struggle, and we break out in sweat and all. If you develop a regular daily spiritual practice, it can be a lot easier than that. You go to your subconscious mind, or subjective, as Ernest Holmes called it, which is the part of you that is your operating system on this earth, kind of. It's where you introduce an idea into it, you hand it off as a belief, and it begins to manifest after its own kind. Well, you go to that aspect of yourself, and you develop a relationship with it, you soften it up. And now it's not this alien thing that you're having to transact with. And this is why people think they have to transact with God. They have to get all formal and contractual about it. And, oh, Lord, if it be thy will, and I pledge unto thee my firstborn, if I, and all of this, if only thy will in thy glory will find, get me out of this one. Get me out. You don't have to develop this kind of contractual legalese sort of thing with it. You just go to it every day, and you say, subconscious mind, like Raymond Barker used to say, subconscious mind, now hear this. Now hear this. This is what I intend. This is what I plan. You remember the play, later, the movie, You Can't Take It With You?
Yes.
Okay, classic Americana kind of thing about this crazy household full of people. They invite, somebody will come to the door with a delivery, and they'll invite them in to live there. And they'll be in the basement. And so this place is, there's somebody practicing ballet in this corner, and somebody writing a novel in this corner. And it's a wonderful play and all this. And every night for dinner, the father of this household, Lionel Barrymore, I think it was, everybody gets together at this massive table for dinner. And he says grace. He says the prayer. And instead of, oh, Lord, with his head bowed and all of this solemn stuff, he says, well, sir. He's kind of looking up. Well, sir. And he'll call out everybody around the table. So-and-so's, their novel's coming along well, and we're grateful for their health, and we're grateful for this food here. And, if you'd look after so-and-so over here and take care of this one over there. And we're not sure about the person that just moved in who's making fireworks in the basement, but, keep them safe and keep us safe from them, and all this kind of thing. And it was, for a lot of people, a little, sacrilegious when all of this came out, because it wasn't couched in these churchy kinds of terms. It was conversational. But that works. That really works, is to go to this thing. If you really are of spirit, which you are, if spirit really is all there is, which it is, then we can have a perfectly natural and normal relationship with it, and just go to this divinity in prayer and just speak our mind and just say what we have to say. Okay. One of the things that we teach in this place is to focus on what, but not how so much. Now, I need to preface this by saying that nothing in this talk is to be taken to mean abandon logic, abandon intellect. Not at all. There's been far too much of that, in my opinion, in organized religion. Blind faith, really blind faith, okay? Don't ask any questions. If you're asking a question, see, that signifies your doubt. Are you a doubter? Do you belong here? Are you one of us? Are you a plant? Are you a spy? You know, and the whole thing gets really strange and really limiting and really constricting. Use your mind. You got a good mind. But I'm here to tell you, okay, let me, just say, I have a really good mind. I really do. I've had it tested and stuff, and I use it a lot. And I have a really good mind. And I know exactly where it ends. I have learned where it ends. It's like the drop-off they tell you about. This beach, is difficult. This beach, you go very far out, okay, there's going to be a shelf. And you're like, no, there isn't. Not for me. Because I'm a swimmer, because I'm a beach person. There's no shelf for me. There's no, wow, and all, blah, 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 blah. Okay, there is a place where our capacity for figuring stuff out ends, and my friends, it ends abruptly. It ends abruptly. There we are, going along, thinking we have, and boom. And so, no matter how good a mind you have, and everybody has a wonderful mind. People have minds that are good at different things, figuring things out in different ways, that astonish the people watching them do that. But everybody comes to their limit where they don't know how. They don't know how. And so it's been said that imagination is about what? And the great mystery is about why. Okay? And logic or intellect is about everything else. The where, the when, the who, the how. How's all of this getting put together? People invariably ask, when they ask someone else to pray for them, they'll say, well, what is it that you want? Well, what I want is no. Okay? Fine. I'm going to take that into prayer now. Well, how is it going to happen? And I don't have all day. It's taken me this long to ask somebody to pray for me, but I don't have all. How is this going to happen? When is this going to happen? Where exactly? Which door is this coming in? We don't know this stuff. If we knew this stuff, you'd know this stuff. And if you knew this stuff, we wouldn't be having this conversation, right? It would just be, okay, checks in the mail. It's on its way. It's this and that. But we don't know. So we try to invest ourselves less in the how in this teaching and more in the what. That is to say, more in what we would create if we could create anything at all, because we can't. Now, an interesting conversation came up in another group a couple of weeks ago about a body of work called the Hermetic Laws, which Ernest Holmes drew from, and a lot of these teachers of New Thought drew from. And one of the Hermetic Laws, without opening a whole new conversation, one of the Hermetic Laws suggests the idea of polarity, that things exist on a continuum, that, for instance, if you desire some new reality in your life, that new reality exists on the same plane or continuum as the reality that you seek to replace. Does that make sense? That is to say, it does not exist on a different continuum. And I think we've talked about this before. East runs to west and west back to east. Hot runs to cold and cold back to hot. East doesn't run to cold or hot, and so on. These are different scales of being. And so if you want more friends in your life, that exists on a continuum. You get to name it, the continuum of harmony, or the continuum of friendliness or love, or companionship, or collaboration, or whatever. And so you want more of something, on that same scale to move up from less of that something, which requires simply an increase in vibration, again, on that same scale. You speed up somewhat on that same scale. How do you do this? Through visualization, through affirmation, through reading and study, through conversation with other people, and through silence. Through silence, by going to the source of your own being without a long list of needs, and just simply standing in its presence and letting it love on you. And as you do that, you develop the capacity to increase your rate of vibration by saying things to yourself, coming to the awareness within yourself that if it's more friends you want, I'm entitled to more friends. More friends is not, this is not, I'm not having to defeat my own limitations or something. I'm not having to bamboozle people into being my friend because they might find out what an awful human I really am, Instead, it's like, hey, I'm all right, and people want to be my friend. Dale Carnegie, back in the last century, made quite a production out of this, how to win friends and influence people. You know how you win friends and influence people? You win yourself over. You get it at the deepest possible organic level within yourself that you're all right just the way you are. And if there's anything you need to change, well, then you'll change it. And you'll be led to change it, or you'll get instructions on how to change it or something like that. But that's all beside the point. The fundamental essence of you is just beautiful and wonderful and whole. And when you get that, people suddenly notice you and they want to be your friend. And it's not this uphill battle that it was before. And the same is true for money. And the same is even true for physical health. You introduce messages into your psyche that say, I'm worthy, I belong here, I'm a beautiful, capable person, and so forth. And metabolically, you respond. Your food digests better. Your blood circulates more easily. Can I prove all of this to you? No, I can't. I don't have like PowerPoint up here and stuff. And it's not my field. But what I can tell you is you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about because you've had toxins surge through your body when you've been angry before. And especially when you've been self-judgmental and guilty. Nothing feels worse than guilt, regret. And it's like, oh, God, I should have. Because other people you can forgive and you can overlook, or you can at least say, well, they're stupid. Other people. They didn't know any better because they're just stupid people. And it's like you're not carrying, that's not a nice thing to do. I'm not saying that, but it's not, you're not carrying it around with you like this weight around your neck. But when it's you that messed up, and you know that you did, and even you knew you were in the moment, that's really, and so this is what the science of spiritual psychology is about. This is what we're doing in New Thought by way of restructuring our relationship with the infinite. You understand, it has nothing to do with the infinite side of the equation. The infinite's just fine. It's never judged you, never had a problem with you and all like that. But we go crawling to the infinite sometimes and we say, God, I know I'm this miserable wretch and all. And so that's what we work on by changing the vibration. And again, this cannot happen entirely logically. This cannot happen entirely intellectually. We will talk ourselves right out of it, won't we? And that's why people will say in a teaching like this, I cannot tell you how often I've heard this one, they'll say, I've been studying this stuff for years and I just got it. Or I've been studying this stuff for years and I haven't yet gotten it, but the person next to me appears to have gotten it, and so I want to know what's going on there. And what they're saying is that intellectually they've been reading the material and taking the classes, and it all sounds good, but they haven't yet bought it at the deepest possible level. And by bought it, I mean they haven't bought their own magnificence. I, as a representative of this spiritual teaching, do not care if you embrace this spiritual teaching. I really don't. What I care very much about is that you embrace you. that you embrace you and the magnificence of you. And if it takes another hall with somebody else at the front of it, for that to facilitate that, God bless. God bless. It's really about each of us getting who we are. And that won't happen exclusive of anything else. That is to say, it's not like Creative Life has a lock on this at all. This happens out in the so-called world, as if there were a different something going on out there. You know what I mean? But in work and in home and in everything else, it's a gestalt of stuff all swirling around you. Life is a workshop. Life is a workshop. So if logic enough by itself is not enough, then how do we season it with emotion? And if you're new to that question, it's a great day to start. It's springtime, like tomorrow, isn't it? Or Tuesday? Is it tomorrow? Okay, it's tomorrow. Yeah, okay. So it's like you could not ask for a better time. You could not ask for a more auspicious time than this to start now by planting the seeds of desire and watering them with the essence of emotion, the essence of feeling. Yes, how would I feel? So answer this, fill in this sentence in your mind for yourself throughout the week. How would I feel if? See, that's very conditional and very, it's not requiring a commitment of you. The way like we often do at the turn of the year where we'll say, by God, from now on, I'm going to do this, right, with our resolutions. Here we're just going to ask, we're not going to scare ourselves. We're not going to scare ourselves. We're going to ask ourselves, how would I feel if? And then wait for something to come up around that. Wait for something to surface. How would I feel if? And look, seriously, how would I feel if this big problem in my life went away? And you know what could happen? This. And you're like, that's crazy. Here's what logic does. That's crazy. What are you doing? Here comes logic. I just caught you having a feeling. Stop that. Put that down. You don't have time for this. You're going to be late. Don't dawdle. Remember that word? Yeah. Dawdle. That's a lollygagging. Yeah. These are words that have a very limited lifespan in our lives, but they pack a lot of weight, don't they? Dawdle. We're still afraid, 70 years old, and you're still afraid somebody's going to pass by the doorway. You're dawdling. But this is what logic will do. It's like, why do you have tears coming out your face about letting go of something you don't want anymore? That's just crazy. Put those tears away. Get back. The reason you do, maybe, is because you have a lifetime investment in this thing. Okay? It's not comfortable, but it's real familiar. It's been here a real long time. We have mixed feelings about things. Guess what? We're complicated beings. It's okay to have mixed feelings about things. As a matter of fact, it's only as we go through the layers of feeling, sort through all of these different feelings, that we get our power back. So we get our power back in this. So how would it feel if? How would it feel if? How would it feel if you really were at home inside your own skin? How would it feel if you knew that every space you walked into was filled with people waiting to be your friend, or at least be nice to you? Maybe not creating long-term relationships with everyone you meet, but that they're at least nice to you. How would it be? How would it be? If you knew you had the ability to do what you want and what excites you, without comparing yourself to everybody who's already doing it, and how good they are at it, and how famous they are, and how much money they're making, and all of the different things that are, again, what? Logic. See, logic says the person who dies with the most toys wins. Okay. Logic says you are your money. That is the final accounting of your value on this earth, and your right to draw a breath. This is the stuff logic that you are your level of education, and you are your number of friends and followers on social media. This is what logic dictates. You see, I've got a longer list than you have. So. And it's heartbreaking that we assign so much power to this, because none of it is true. Because if you need logical evidence that it's not true, which is kind of ironic, but if you need, look at the incredibly unpopular people, the incredibly lonely and persecuted people throughout history who changed history, who had no money, who had, on the second, which is what, 2 weeks from now, it's Palm Sunday. There is no better example in Western religion, I think, of the fickleness of human opinion and applause than Palm Sunday. Okay? So look at all of these people who, or if not as dramatic an example as that, look at all of these people who had an idea for some kind of creative thing or invention or whatever, and were told they were crazy, and they stuck with it. So the rules that we think apply that make us more special or more important or whatever do not, and never have. They're just agreed upon. And that brings me to my, I hope for both of our sakes, my last point today, about superstition. Because sometimes people will say, well, now if I sidle away from logic a little bit, then I'm going to become a superstitious person, and we don't want to be one of them. Superstition is actually warped logic. Superstition is not emotion. Superstition is not feeling. Superstition is not the awareness of a higher power that wants your good. Superstition is something that used to be true in the moment, or seemed to be factual anyway, that we left out in the rain, and it warped, and we still go back to it, and we still do the thing the same way we always have. We still do the same thing. Oh God, I have to tell this story real quick. I promised a number of people over the years, I'm going to break my word here on camera, I promised a number of people over the years I would never tell this story again. Because I went through, now it's not a bad story, it's such, in fact, it's such a good story, it illustrates so much to me that I overused it. I wore out a story. People stood up in the chairs on Sundays pointing at me when I started to tell this story, but it's a great story. So
here you go.
It's Easter, let's say, in the Jones home, okay? And the whole Jones family is gathered for Easter. All generations, 4, maybe even 5 generations of Joneses are gathered for Easter. And the people who like to cook are in the kitchen area. And others are watching sports on TV, or they're out in the yard playing ball, or but there's this house full of people. Anyway, so in the kitchen, they have the big Easter ham, and they take the Easter ham and they cut the ends off the Easter ham, and they put it on a platter and they stick it in the oven. And one of the youngest Joneses says to whoever just put the thing in the oven, "Why do we cut the ends off the ham?" And that person replies, "Well, I don't know. We've kind of always done it that way. Go ask Mama." And so this child, I guess, goes and asks, "Mama, why do they just put the ham in the oven? Why do they cut the ends off the ham?" And Mama says, "Well, I don't know. It's just we've always done it that way. Go ask Grandma." There's Grandma over here in the rocking chair, And and asked Grandma. Grandma's like, what? What? And she said, why do they cut the ends off the ham? So, oh, I think I can tell you, but let me ask my mother. She's you know, it's an old thing, right? And so they had this back. Yeah, that was it. Back when my mother, your great-grandmother, was first married, she had a small pan. Yeah, you were one of them, weren't you? Yeah, no, not again. Stop him. Somebody stop him. So this is what my point is. This is what logic would have us do. You didn't always have this size pan. You didn't always have it this good. So you got to act like you did when you didn't have it this good. You got to keep repeating these things, or you lose even what you have. One of the most pernicious lies we can tell ourselves is that we can't have it going on well in every area of life all at once. And one of the groups of people, if I dare say, that has been instructed in this vigorously by the rest of the culture is women. To be a mother, to have a career, to have interests, to have hobbies, to be a partner in a relationship, to do all of this, while inside or wearing a healthy body is, no, you can't, nobody can pull it off. Nobody can pull it off. And so you must decide what to throw overboard. You must decide. Who made this up? Because life has been hard at different times for different people. Who, David? David made it up? Men in general. Okay. And he was the closest. Oh, I see. He was all right. He was the first one you locked eyes with, right? Yeah. Men. Him. Oh, that's great. You got some explaining to do. Yeah. So, how would I feel if I could feel any way at all? Right now, how would I feel? How would I feel? And what would it take for that to happen will come later. That's logic, the how of it. But just right now, how would I feel? Just trust that much. And listen, folks, it'll cost you nothing. It'll cost you nothing. You don't have to fill out a form or any of this to do this kind of work. To just, how would it be all right with me? Would it be all right with me if I felt all right today? If I felt strong today? If I felt capable today? If I felt like I had the world by its tail today? I love that song. We should do that sometime. Okay, let's know together now. One life, one power, one presence. Both logic and magic. It's the awareness of something greater than we are. Many call this God. That is a loaded term. If it makes you uncomfortable, set it aside. Pick a new term. The power of springtime comes to mind. The wheel of the year. The endless cycle. Immersed in that one, I am enough. That I speak this word about each being here, in this place in space and time, or observing from another space and time. I speak this word that each of us knows how it is we wish to feel about life, understanding that that feeling will not come and plaster itself onto us as a permanent and unchanging thing, but rather it will be a greater ascent of the mountain than we've ever undertaken before. And still we will return to the valley. always. For life has its moments of sadness, grief, and loss, its moments of confusion, always. But there is higher that we may go, greater that we may feel, infinitely more that we may be than what we presently appear. And so for this knowing, for the power of Spirit working through each one of us to accomplish the fullness of our being in this world, for this sweet time together on this cool and lovely final day of winter, I say thank you, infinite presence of life. Spirit of the great beyond, the great mystery, for all that is so and all that is yet to be. And so it is.
Today, thank you for being here. And for everyone else, thank you for returning. We love to see your smiling faces. We love your energy. We love everything that you do and give to this center. We appreciate all monetary donations. It is because what you give to us that we're able to be here for you. And so I see our cutest little ushers waiting in the back. And so I invite everyone now to say with me, divine love through me blesses and multiplies all the good I am and have, all the good I give and receive. I am prosperous now, and so it is.
All right, I'm going to tell on myself because since it was a piano solo part, and I went to move the camera over to you and ended the broadcast.
It's all my fault.
Yeah. So, yeah, no. I was just like, and there's a moment where you can cancel it, and I was not fast enough.
Hey, you mean you can't move
Well,
it
yes,
back?
because I
They can't move it back?
turned it back on. So, as good as we get at things, occasionally we make mistakes. And you know what I'm not going to do? I'm not going to beat myself up about it. I am going to fess up to it, though. And that is because I have done my spiritual work, right? Oh, my goodness. All right. And just a brief reminder of what practitioners do. They treat themselves to know you're good. Another way we could say that is we hold space for you until you can know for yourself. So whatever it is that you want, whatever you're working on, a practitioner will help you hold that space until you can hold it for yourself. Which means if you've got a challenge, we're happy to help you with that. If you don't know what you want, we're happy to help with that too. But we are also happy to hold space for good stuff. Jesse started out by saying, practice now while things are going well. That is the best way to do this. And practitioners love praying for good stuff, for continuing good, for ever and greater good. We love that kind of stuff. So, all right. I think that's my responsibilities for announcements. And so now I get to turn you loose into this beautiful spring day. It was me. I wasn't, wait, are you expecting me to sing the closing song all by myself? I'm going to turn you loose into this beautiful spring day by reminding you the spring equinox is, according to the internet, 3:24 p.m. Monday. Right? Okay. You never know what's going on over here.
We don't either.
Yeah. But think about the spring equinox and the fall equinox is about balance. Balance. How many of us are well balanced? It's something we work on, right? Constantly. Well, this is your opportunity. Yes, the spring equinox is about planting and all of that, and the fall equinox is about harvesting, but it's also the day and night is equal. The light is equal before we go into one or the other. So if you are not balanced right now, this is your reminder. And we've got all kinds of balances in our life. Work life being one of the biggest challenges out there. So that's where we're going, into spring. I encourage you to know with me that there is one power, one presence, one life, one love. I live that life. That presence enters this realm through me. That power enters this realm through me. That love enters this realm through me. As I know it does through each and every one of you. We are living one grand life and channeling divine love into it. If we could be said to have a purpose, our purpose is to channel love. Everything else is a side benefit. And love does amazing things. So I know for us, as we walk into this week, this day, this springtime, that we walk a path of balance. That we hold easily our responsibilities and our fun. That everything that needs to get done gets done easily and completely. And that we have the time to rest and to play and to work and to be joyful and to love. All in its own special, unique for each and every one of us, balance. You are God in action. You are spirit in motion. You are a divine channel. And anything is possible. Plug in and regulate your flow. And I am so grateful for a teaching that teaches me who I am and who each and every one of you are. And I'm grateful for this community. I am grateful for this place. I am grateful for our ministers, our practitioners, our musicians, the technology that allows us to bring this to you. And I'm grateful because grateful is another word for love. And gratitude will get you everywhere. And I relax, release, and know that it is so. And so it is.
Say with me now, something wonderful is happening through me.
Something wonderful is happening through me.
I feel it in my body.
I feel it in my body.
I feel it in my mind.
I feel it in my
I
mind.
feel it in everything I am.
I feel it in everything I am.
I choose it.
I choose it.
I trust it.
I trust
I
it.
use it.
I use it.
And what else?
And I
I love it.
it.
And
And
so
so
it
it
is.
is.
So it is.